Ancient sands, heed my command.
You know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning?
And reclaim these relics of
I think I'm kinda gay. Kinda gay.
Same thing that happens to everything else.
If the apocalypse comes, beat me. Beat me. Beat me. Beat me.
Not twice. We can only hold it in for so long. We're going to keep that because it's the end of the year. Welcome to Real Hot Nerd Shit, a pop culture podcast where real hot nerds talk about real nerd shit. I'm your host, Ryan.
And I'm your co-host, Shauna.
And we barely kept it together to not laugh through that intro. And I don't really know what it is. Perhaps you were experiencing the same thing as me, which is like, it does kind of give me the giggles every time I listen to it because first of all, I'm like, I made that. And second of all, this is our podcast. And third of all, it's filled with things that I want to repeat out loud. So I don't know if that's what you were giggling about, but that's what I was.
Well, what does happen when a toad is struck by lightning? And I think it was like I shrugged my shoulders and I was like, that is oh yeah, that's right. I had
the same
to.
thing as everybody else. Sometimes they lose a dew claw, like my toad.
Oh my gosh, that poor sweetheart. I am so glad you took such good care.
Yeah, he so to our loyal listeners, in case anyone does not also follow us on social media and already knows this, my sweet angel perfect baby cracked his dew claw at the end of last week, and then it just like progressively got worse. And so I had to take him into the vet on Monday, and he got the whole thing chopped off, and he's completely okay, and he has a little cast on, and he's not even bothering with it. Like, I do not have to do anything other than occasionally be like, okay, just leave that alone. And he listens. He's the sweetest dog. I have to put a little booty over it so it doesn't get wet. And he like literally just like hands me his paw and stares at me like, I don't get this, but okay. Angel. Absolute angel. Speaking of angel, you have two of my favorite icons several of my favorite icons over your shoulder. Shauna, talk about your your holiday decorations, and you might have to describe a little bit because some people will be listening and not watching.
A holiday tradition in our household is my spouse Dara always goes around and makes little Santa hats for all of our different figures. And so over here you have Rayla from Dragon Prince wearing a little scarf, and Buffy and Faith wearing hats, as is Commander Shepard. And then, of course, Sarah Lance and Captain Cold from Legends of Tomorrow, and Winona Earp. And so you've got a little holiday decor. And
back there. But she doesn't have. Does Spider-Gwen have a hat on or a scarf?
Oh, she has and she's like the most sturdy for some reason. So she has like a little scarf.
Work.
She's all set
Dara
up.
really made it flying in the wind.
You know, that's what they do. You know, like we have a Hulk, well, I have a Dara, and whenever I need a problem solved that's artistically based, that's what they're there for. And and throughout the duration of our relationship, and I just love and appreciate that so much. Which they've also been making me memes for our other latest obsession, which has been Marvel Rivals, which we'll get into that for a bit. But also, speaking of nerdy Christmas, so something we've had for probably 6-7 years now is we always have an angel on top of our tree, but it is David Boreanaz in action figure form. So we always make sure that is a feature of our Christmas. And then Dara also made a ornament for me one year that is Willow and Tara hugging, but it's their action figures. And so, and it's really cute and Christmassy. So those are our two Buffy staples of our Christmas tree. And I'm very fortunate because I have a lot of my childhood ornaments. So going back the old Disney and Ninja Turtles and all sorts of different things that I are just traditions
still
on our tree.
And still very much
relevant in my life and still very much make me smile, make our family smile. And so I'm very lucky to have been able to keep that. And so I love Christmas. I think Halloween's still my favorite, but I do love the festivities and getting into the spirit. And
I like that people are generally a little cheerier to each other
Mm,
I being raised Jewish, like Christmas always felt, I don't even really know the right word for it. Like indifferent. I think I am still indifferent to it. I am admittedly somewhat a materialistic person, so any opportunity for gifts, both giving and receiving, I'm versed when it
mm,
comes to gifts. Um, I get too excited about it. I love giving gifts. It's so fun. I
it's
love
so
getting gifts. It's just as fun. Um, but yeah, my like whole experience with Christmas was with my ex, and so I had no traditions that were just mine because I didn't celebrate it
oh,
growing that
that's
up, and then
that
I'd
makes
only ever
sense.
celebrated with another person. So last year, actually, shout out to Taryn, who helped me kind of like figure out what I wanted to keep and what I wanted to make new. Like I didn't have a Christmas tree until like December 20th last year, and truthfully, it kind of comes and goes in terms of like if I actually want to keep it up or whatever. I'm just like, this is mostly out of a tradition that I established as an adult, albeit with another person, that does bring me joy. And this year and last year, I decorated it with Taryn, and so it still felt very joyful. But it is definitely a weird, like, trying to come down on where I feel about the holidays in general. Like,
Sure.
I'm, you know, I don't really have a relationship with my family of origin. My family, the family that I've created, like I love spending all this time like this. On anytime we're all off work and get to hang out whenever we want to, aces, thrilled about it. But like, I think the emotional weight of how everyone sort of romanticizes what this time of year is supposed to be, both like romantically, but also like romantic in the sense of like it's supposed to be perfect and whatever. And like I think we've all accepted that that's just not real life, but like sometimes it is. And I think people that get to experience that around the holidays, like it makes me happy that it makes them happy, but it just sort of like slides off me. You know what I mean? I'm just like, okay. I like
Absolutely.
often forget that Christmas is coming.
No, and like I understand that, especially like you said, between being raised and where it is in like just kind of an adult space. I
Hmm.
think that's a very, like very fair perspective. And like for in our house, Dara was, raised Jewish, and so they did celebrate Christmas still, and like
Hmm.
they decorated like the one tree in their house. Like that wasn't like it was just the tree that they decorated,
And technically,
and
Hanukkah is the festival of lights. I used to get so
that's
mad
true.
about that as a kid when I was like, they can took that. All we get 8 candles, which is like a beautiful like ceremony, but like the Jews should be decorating our homes. Like
Absolutely.
that's ours. Y'all got a baby. We got lamps. So that's the difference
And
between Christmas and Hanukkah.
bringing light, right, bringing light and joy. And and especially this year where the first
True.
night of Hanukkah is Christmas Day.
That is
And
wild. That
so,
I do not remember. I don't think that that's happened in my life
gosh,
that
I
I can
don't I
recall.
would yeah, that's fast. I'm curious when the last time
Let
was.
me Google.
See, this is
Has
where we need a producer. This is where
right,
like we would come in and like fact check, be like, who's already like looking it up as we're talking
right.
about it. That's the future. That's 2025 goals.
I started typing. Has Hanukkah ever been on Christmas? 2024, the sunset of September. 2005 was the last time, and then before that was 1959.
No shoot.
Before that
Okay.
was 1921, and before that was 1910. So
Gosh,
this is
that lunar calendar is always wild how that works out in those ways. Especially,
right.
well,
Like
and so it's
that.
nice that we can, with our families, like we're doing Christmas with my one partner, Kelly's family on
Mhm.
Christmas Day, and then we're doing Hanukkah with Dara's parents the next night on the second night, just in the
Beautiful.
way that it works out. And so it's really good that we can kind of have a continued spread out celebration. And yeah, but at the end of the day, the holidays are about people.
Right.
And that's where, like you said about gift giving, and what I love it's and I find gift giving, I both love doing it, but sometimes it's difficult when I don't
Mhm.
know. if nothing is speaking to me, if there isn't
For
like an
sure.
idea that comes, I feel like
Yeah.
that's always the hard part. Because sometimes it's like, oh, this is so and so. This I
Yeah.
want to get, and I love that the holidays kind of empower you to go out of your way to do that. I think
Yeah.
that's a really beautiful thing. So yeah,
Yeah. Do you keep a I
that's what
keep a
Christmas
running
means to me.
list. That's what
Oh
Christmas
my
means
god.
to me. I
I
keep a
do too.
running list of
I've
things
had a
by my
gift
friends.
list too. Absolutely,
Yeah.
where I think of a gift idea and like I actually went back in and just like got something for Kelly because I had written it down and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I did want that."
Yeah.
That's right.
Um
Uh-huh.
oh, ha ha ha. I did make a gift note for you. So,
It's funny.
um uh okay.
Yeah.
So the thing that I was getting at about my notes app is that I still have the note for like all the things that I have, like 11 years of notes of what to get a person, my ex, and I'm like, I feel like I can't delete it. This is a gold mine. Like, why would I want to get rid of this? Um, but speaking of romantic partners, I was struck. That this might be a cool opportunity to talk about how you navigate the holidays being poly, because you mentioned going to your one partners on Christmas Day and going to your other partners, your spouses on like this year for the second night of Hanukkah. Like, obviously that is ideal, smooth sailing, like, that it splits up like that. And I think anyone in a romantic relationship knows how difficult it is to manage sometimes, like in-law expectations, but specifically like how do you all show up, and like what was it like to have your first like poly Christmas. Like, I'm fascinated.
Well, and I think this is where I am just so fortunate that both of my partners' families are so wonderful and accepting of all of us as we are.
Yeah.
That we are able to come and do family celebrations where we are just, all of us are able to go and be a part of it. That is just a normal, welcome thing. That, when like we introduced Kelly, because, my spouse and I, we've been together since we were 17.
Right.
So we have a lot, like there's a lot to that. And I'll think I'll save this story for another day, but I do love the story of when we told Dara's parents that we were polyamorous and that
Oh,
I had been seeing someone, and it was getting to the point where I wanted to say this to my, you know,
family. Yeah.
my family, my parent figures, because especially like I don't have any, relationship with any of my biological family. Like
Yeah.
I'm very much,
Something that we share in
disconnected
common.
from all of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
For
so
better or
that
for
is one
worse.
of those. Exactly. And, in a lot of ways it is better, but also a lot of ways it
Yes.
does suck. And
Yeah.
especially can feel like these holidays where, you know, but I think I grew up traveling a lot for different holidays. So I think like traveling as in like going to different friends
Yeah.
and, that kind of their family. And
Yeah.
so being a guest I think really helped both make this so much more important, where we kind of started, doing a little like we would, before our child was born, we would always like give each other gifts right at midnight on
Yeah.
Christmas Eve. This kind of became our way of making it special. And
Hmm.
then, we still do that for some things, especially more adult oriented gifts. But
Right.
then, now we have like, yeah, you don't want to, it was like, oh yeah, you don't want to open the underwear package in front
Right.
of like
Exactly.
kids. Like you're like, that can
Exactly.
save for the night
Hey,
before.
why did you get
But
batteries for Christmas?
oh,
Why did you give
well,
each other batteries?
you always wanna make sure that your toys have batteries, and
Exactly. A
it
responsible
does.
adult always has batteries.
The toys may change, but the truth of
Right.
it still is the same. But
You
yeah,
better tell them.
so we navigate it very, we're very lucky that we can just all that we don't have to pick and choose. We don't have to downplay ourselves
Yeah.
or our relationships, because that is a real pitfall that just I feel so bad, and I know so many people. Like I had a long distance ex-partner who would lost family because of like lost
Damn.
connection to his brother because he wouldn't accept my partner's other girlfriend that he lived with, like, because he actually had a very similar situation to mine where he lived with his spouse and then lived with his girlfriend and that partner. And then, but whereas Kelly has been just loved and treated as a part of it, and I don't have any siblings.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah. When
they had a big split, and that is a very, it's, I think, one of those ways in which I think that polyamory isn't queer inherently,
right.
but there's so much overlap in how the systems treat those people that I think
Yes.
there's so much natural, like, there's so much natural synergy there and so much
Yes.
natural, like, we should relate to each other and to our own struggles, and even if they're not our own, and we that doesn't speak to the degree or depth that
Right.
is so much of queerness in many ways. That doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of overlap and a lot of where, and so many queer people are obviously also polyamorous, because once you throw away one aspect of
Exactly.
heteronormative society, it becomes
Right.
easy.
When you realize it's all made up, you're like, oh, it's all made up? Got it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we're
but
doing whatever we
honestly,
want.
that was how Dara and I first really had our foray into polyamory, was when I transitioned, over a decade ago,
Right.
because that was something that we had never really explored much of, but I think but I was always in my friend group in my 20s, I was the one who's like, Dara never gave me shit for playing video games with my friends,
Right.
whereas all the other partners were always kind of, like, resentful of that time in a
Right.
different sort of way, and I
Right.
think that kind of sharing of time and space really translated naturally to polyamory of just like, "No, I want you to be happy and have those circles." But once
Yes.
we were no longer seen as this heteronormative couple, which is really funny considering now,
Correct. Considering you're a heteronormative couple.
yeah, we're, like, back, like, full
As
circle
a
there,
dyad. Yeah.
Right, like, I used to, like, when I met my partner, Dara, in high school, they were an out lesbian, and I used
Mhm.
to think I was the exception, but it turns out I was the rule. And so I always think back to, and then, like, I was like, "Oh, this made more sense then," and it was a real
Totally.
easy, like, obviously, like, I mean, I bought my first skirt at a visiting over Christmas because I went to go stay with Dara's parents back in junior year of high school.
Hmm.
And so I flew out. My mom had just died months ago, oh, a couple, like 2 months earlier. And so I flew to stay with them, meeting Dara's parents for the first time. And Dara and their friend, who has now also since come out and
Work.
is a trans man. And so two future trans masks went to go buy a future trans woman her first skirt at the mall together.
There's a
And that
joke in
is
there.
right.
And
And
the
that is
joke is that it's in Columbia Station.
Right, yeah. This was in New York, thank you very much.
Oh, right,
It
right,
was
right,
in the
right, right,
sticks
right,
of it was the sticks of New York. It was like, like 45 minutes of Westchester, like going through
right.
the hills of,
Okay, well now you have to
but
just say it's in Westchester forever. In my head now, Dara's family is from Westchester.
yeah,
Great, it's headcanon.
I love that. But yeah, so I always think that, and this is back in 2002. So,
Mhm.
like, when you think of the way queerness has been here,
Please. Yeah.
I that is such an important thing, that this wasn't, yesterday. This is where these, whenever we all choose to come out, like, these are
Mhm.
all part of our lives and part of the tapestry of our lives and our queerness and our transness. So yeah,
Totally.
another fun Christmas anecdote. Yeah, that I
Yeah,
didn't even I forgot about. That was
it's
Christmas.
really something that like kind of, jumped out that when you were talking, like even the notion around like coming out as poly is like I don't know. I think I've technically come out three times as queer in my sexuality, in non-binary in my gender identity, and in like romanticism, polyamory, and arguably the hardest was polyamory.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
it was so intimidating. One, because it's also in our instance, you know we were a throuple. Like we were poly in the sense that like my we did have a hierarchy. Like our polyamory was not different, but like I don't think we got to the point where we were able to really like break down the hierarchy and see the relationships individually and like dyadically. We were very much so like, we are married, you are our boyfriend, and that coming out in that way is very different than I think coming out as poly. But like, I was so in love, like I wanted to shout it from the fucking rooftops, and it was so hard. And I think in hard, you know, with air quotes around it, or you know, sort of contextually, but it was really hard because or rather, I guess the coming out experience of that was like, it almost felt like coming out as queer again, where I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to slowly tell people that need to know. And it never got to my family. It never got, I don't think, I mean, I haven't really had like a super close relationship with my family in a number of, like my family of origin in a number of years. Um, but I'm certain, you know, people had questions. Like there were people that we didn't tell that knew.
And you
Um,
start seeing the pictures online, and like suddenly there's
Hello.
always
It's like,
this third
oh, the
person.
three of you are
Oh
celebrating
yeah. Well, I
Thanksgiving
mean,
together. Got it.
I never told my father or my stepfamily about the existence of Kelly, and back when
Well,
I had a
they can fuck
relationship with
off.
them.
So
Well, I mean,
sorry. I
oh, yeah.
as if
No,
this,
no,
as if they'll
it's
ever be
okay.
listening to this, but fuck you guys.
Well, spoiler alert, not
Mm-hmm.
likely, at
Mm-hmm.
least in the case of my father, but
Yeah.
that's a whole
Oh
nother
shit.
story.
Right. 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 Right.
Anyways, moving right
Anyways.
along from that. But
Yeah.
no, but I didn't tell my I had a picture of me, Dara Kelly, and our child, you know, when he was like a baby on my desk at work. And I remember one of the managers asked me, like, who's that? Or I was like, oh, that's, you know, one of Zabby's family members,
Yeah.
is what I had said because
Yeah.
I didn't really openly talk about polyamory because for some people it is that road too far. It was a road too far for
Yeah.
some of my friends even.
Yeah.
Like, and that
Totally.
was, you know, like where they thought like, oh, it's one thing for you to have come out as trans, which was already very difficult on them.
Sure.
And
Which
that was
also, yeah. Sorry.
right. Well, I even but you know, and thinking about like when I came out, it was literally before Caitlyn Jenner came out, before
Right.
like we were like when America was
Way
having its
before
moment
Caitlyn
during
Jenner, bitch.
pop.
We're
Yeah.
talking about. I mean, you. Okay, so you said 2002 was the first time you
That
went.
was when it yeah, that was when I first that was, like, when I was still
Came
in,
out to
like,
yourself.
forays yeah, like, was starting to and then, you know, fighting it throughout all of undergrad, and then I was, like,
Right.
going to go to law school, and then I was like, I did the very traditional thing where I was like, "I'm gonna get serious," because I had grown my hair out in college,
Hmm.
and I had cut it short, and, like, I had got, like, went really short and,
And
like,
dove
right
right
before my
into gender
senior year of
dysphoria.
college. Yeah. It was really like it was like, "No, no, I've gotta get serious with my life. I can't like, this is, like, just this isn't the you know, childhood." You know what I mean? Like, because there wasn't really the, like, this is just a thing you could do at
Right.
that point, so it was like,
Right.
I have to, like, try and, like, hide and push it down. That's why, like, Elsa always really spoke to me because that conceal, don't feel felt
Yeah.
very relatable to how I interacted with my transness for so long. And
I
so, like,
do
yeah,
just
so I cut my
really. Sorry. Keep
oh,
going. Keep going.
no,
Keep going.
I cut my hair and I got glasses, or I got contacts because 'cause I'd always wearing glasses. So I went to my senior year of college, like a completely different person because I used to have, like, my hair, like, long brown hair down to, like, the middle of my back, you know, always wore it, like, back in a ponytail because I didn't like but yeah, I
Yeah.
always had, like, that very nerdy, like, long hair was the way
Yeah.
it,
I
like, was
I
portrayed as, but it was the,
never
like
saw it, but I see it, my friend. I know. I know.
well, because that was the, like, where you know, and I was always skinny, and so always, like
Yeah. Shout
which
out
is
to the
funny,
gangly, nerdy teens and
right?
20
So
somethings.
funny to think that I weighed, like, 30, 40 pounds more because I always think of myself as big, so, like but, like, in that way in which, you know, hormone replacement therapy changes your body in a very significant way in many
Yeah.
ways. Like, and so, like, the all of as I felt all of that, like, I'm sure we'll talk about trans athletes at some point, but, like, I remember that first year of transitioning. I started in March, and less than 6 months later, I had already lost over 50 yards on my golf drive.
Oh
Like,
my
which actually
god.
really like, but it was a really funny because it was such a tangible way
That's
of knowing it that I used to
wild.
always like, I used to have a 250-yard drive. I was really good at driving, and then it dropped down to a little under 200, and, like, without doing anything other than like, no change other than just subtracting testosterone and adding estrogen in its place.
Right. Which, I'm certain that there's some psychosomatic effect too. Like, there's probably also a lot less repressed emotion,
Oh,
driving the drive. But before we continue down that
absolutely.
rabbit hole, I have to
Yeah.
point out, because you said Sirius and Law School, that is one of my favorite songs from Legally Blonde the musical, where she's thinking what she wants to do to go after Warner. And she was, this is the kind of girl that woman wants. Someone serious, someone lawyerly, somebody who wears black when nobody's dead. I
Love
fucking
that.
love Legally Blonde the musical.
I wanna
Down,
that's on my
Shauna.
list of I really wanna see it. I would, because I
It,
love Legally Blonde. I love that archetype of character. It's my
yes,
favorite archetype.
like some maybe over the holiday break or something. We should find, because they aired it on they aired it on MTV in
Okay.
2008, and the homosexuals on Ohio University's campus were of Twitter because we were all obsessed with Legally Blonde the musical. Um,
I love that.
Also, present tense, still favorite, top 3 favorite musicals of all time. Um,
Well, and I've been really
so
kinda hitting my musical moment
I
here, like,
know.
I've never been more I didn't realize, like, I've never had a musical, like, get its, like, claws into me and
Welcome,
just
bitch.
really Wicked has been, so I'm still, like, just, like, I was having a bad day, and I'm like, "I'm just gonna put on the Wicked soundtrack," and, like, I
Yes.
do feel better now.
Okay, so
Like,
this is a perfect segue into our,
yeah.
theme for today. But I do want to ask, what about Once More with Feeling?
Ooh, I do love Once More with Feeling.
Did that tickle any urges?
See,
Because
and
I'm
that's
a
where
tried and true musical
well, and
faggot.
I always loved music. Yeah, like, I've always been a big music fan. It was actually one of the things that Kelly and I really first connected on, was a shared love of music and getting to really connect on that front. Like, she's, like,
Hmm.
my concert buddy, and I love that she always wants to be, like, at the very front, like, you
Yeah,
know, set list kinda, like, that's
love it.
the so I loved, like, Once More with Feeling. I loved, like, Steven Universe and all the
Hmm.
songs from that, but I would think in many ways, I feel like episodes were always more musical adjacent than really
Yeah, totally.
musical. Like, thinking about, like, I just want this story, and I think that it was one of those areas where I might have had like, there's such an alternate timeline where I got more into theater instead of
Yeah.
and where that part of me
Wow.
really encouraged is really
That's
a
actually me. That's
Mhm.
me, now that I think about it, because my, adolescent experiences, I was on this trajectory to be a basement gaming nerd. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I guess I was a basement nerd that gamed, but like, that was not my, primary activity in the world. Um,
Sure.
but my friends were like, this group of friends that I had at the time, that were all, I mean, very mean boys. Like, probably one of the things that drove me from them was like, I don't, you guys are mean to each other for no
Oh, yeah.
reason. And anyways, but when I got to high
Chasing Amy,
school,
like, why are you calling your opponent, like, slurs? Like, why are
yeah,
you going down? Like, thinking about things that kept me from coming out, the amount of times I would hear, the opponent get called a faggot just for
yeah,
being, like, different or better at the video game or
right,
whatever number of or
right,
just for existing.
right.
Like, and I
But
was like, those casual ways are so, like, ugh,
normalized. Yeah, but
normal
that
yeah.
I went to high school, and honestly, I was like, I started smoking weed more, and was, my sister's 5 years older than me, so I started smoking weed pretty early. So by the time that I was a
Mhm.
freshman, like, I smoked weed frequently, um, because she was 19. So like that, it was much more normal for her to be a daily smoker than it was for a fucking 14-year-old to be a daily smoker. Um, But like my friends told me that Anthony, again, I don't know if Anthony listens to this with enough frequency to considering how often I talk about him, but like him and my friends literally sat me down and told me I was becoming a burnout because I was smoking so much weed, which was not necessarily wrong. Like, what's the, you're out of line, but you're not wrong. It's always useful.
It is a great line that I'm so happy that has been added.
It's sticking.
It's absolutely part of my pop culture lexicon.
Yes.
Well, we were looking at these Buffy horoscopes, and I loved like my 3 characters and your 3 characters were both, I think,
Yes.
pretty, and it was both very interesting. But yours had the Xander Sagittarius, I believe,
Yes.
and
Yes.
yeah, combining to like it was just such a great like it
Yeah.
basically such you're out of line, but you're right, and I'm
You're
like,
out
but
of
I love
line, but you're right. Yeah.
it's the because you're willing to speak up when you're right, and it's one of
Totally.
my favorite qualities of you
Oh,
is
thank you.
that, like, yeah,
I
I
was
would
going to
not.
do a whole love on each other session later. We don't have to do that right
I
now.
love
We'll do
that.
that
Okay,
later.
well,
Yeah.
I love. We're already, yeah.
Yeah, we're preemptive. We're prematurely loving on each other. The end of that story was just my freshman year English teacher asked me if I had ever done, my, another entry into the English teachers that made me who I am, because it was my gifted language arts teacher in 6th and 7th grade, or 7th and 8th grade. And then it was my freshman English teacher, Sarah Stork, who asked me if I had ever done musicals before, and I had in middle school. But I was a T-bird in Greece, and so she like
Mm,
told me to audition, and I got cast as a freshman with a speaking role. And my voice was changing still at the time, and I've always been sort of like not the most confident singer. Like I know I can carry a tune, but like I just get very in my head about it. And so they had to change my 2 solos into one became a duet in which the other person led, and the other
mm,
was became a group number. So but that was it, like reignited my love for theater, and I was involved in theater for the rest of my time in high school. I stopped hanging out with my friends that were smoking weed every day after school because I had rehearsal, and I stopped hanging out with the mean boys that were my video game friends. I became friends with
mm.
compassionate gay theater people instead. So,
God, that's such
that
a
trajectory is literally like where our paths split. It's pretty
oh.
wild.
See, I was the eponymous Pete in Pete's Luncheonette in our 7th grade, which is a 7th grade musical that we did.
Cute.
And but I always think that I had one of my friends was like kind of a little mean about my singing. And it
Yeah,
always made me very then self-conscious because like I used to have a much deeper voice. And so
sure.
like like how to navigate that and like where I felt, and I think it's probably also again where like dysphoria kicks in of like how to sing was such a more
Totally.
difficult thing for me in so many ways.
Totally.
And so yeah, that was always one of those interesting like the what it because then I remember like I was in a play in freshman year. I was in Little Women and I don't even remember. I was one of
As none of
the
the
like
women.
as none of the women. And like I
And
was like
didn't
one.
you go to an all boy? Didn't the school that you went to was gender specific?
Yes, absolutely. And it was in a other gen it was in one of the all-girls schools productions of Little
So
Women
you all
too. And
partnered.
so then yeah, so then we went over there and yeah, got in from that.
Fascinating.
That's how we did it. Yeah.
How cute.
So I was in the St. Augustine freshman year, it was either freshman or so I think it was freshman year production of Little Women.
I'm sure the
And then
homosexuals that also went to that school that we know would remember.
absolutely. And then I started dating. Well, because then I went there because it was like one of my best friends was in it because she went there, and then I started dating her because that's what we
How
do.
things go. Yeah.
And then that was when I had to go, and my cousin had to get a condom, had to help me buy condoms at right before our confirmation, right before my
Oh,
first confirmation meeting, because he was my sponsor.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's
What a
always
good
such
cousin.
fun. Right? Because I just will never forget. She was like, "Yeah, I think, we should have them." And I'm like, "Why? I don't
Oh,
understand."
when the last girl I ever dated, who's never mind, who is also queer now, is not the thing that I was gonna say, but is,
But
or
also
the
great.
last I heard, she was queer, but she was definitely queer when we were together. But the same thing, like I bought condoms fully being like, I don't know why the fuck I'm buying these. Like, I'm not
Right,
trying to
like
have sex. This is
no, I
not.
was like, I'm not gonna like. I
It was
was like,
mostly to just appease her, like
you
that
know,
I
it's
had
like,
them.
shout out to Catholicism for giving me a real convenient excuse because I could just be like, well,
Oh, I
morality
hope that
started.
Tommy is listening to this because
Yeah,
100%
that's
same. That
mhm.
homosexual hid behind his Catholicism. I will never forget. We were in ninth grade. I'm totally blowing your spot up, Tommy. We were in ninth grade, and the way that our uh, uh, was it World Civ? No, not World Civ. Western Civilization, Western Civ. The way that our seats were oriented, uh, my girlfriend Stephanie, who is not like my girlfriend, Stephanie sat in front of me, and then I think Tommy was in front of her, and then like this guy Tarek, who also is gay, was next to Stephanie or something like that. But we were all kind of seated like in a way that we could all see each other and we were all talking. And I will never forget Tommy said something about homosexuality being against his religion, and Stephanie fully went, "Aren't you gay?"
Damn.
Clocked. And he was like,
Just
I'm pretty sure he was just like, no, yet. He didn't say yet, but, and it wasn't even in like a mean girl calling you out way. It was very much so like, wait, I thought we were all, it was Britney Spears looking at Ryan Seacrest when he said girlfriend. Like, what?
mm,
I thought we all just knew
look.
this. I thought you were just, you were gay and we just were like, yeah, he's gay. Then
I'll
again,
I
I
will
don't know if
never
she knew I
forget
was
the
gay.
Jesuits taking me and the other future queers to be go on the tour. The Are you sure you don't want to be a priest tour of the
Oh
rectory?
God.
Because
Oh
like the
God.
Jesuits are the ones that are like cool. They're like, yeah, you could just be gay and a priest. It's cool, whatever. Like
Right,
you're
right.
having sex with anyone. So like, what does it matter who you're not having
Who you
sex
think about
with?
having
Like,
sex with? Yeah.
yeah, like whatever. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so we are here almost 40 minutes in of us talking shit for 2024 in review. It's a very special episode. It's on Drag Race whenever it's just Rue and her judges. She always says it's just the family. So it's just the family tonight. Not that the other people aren't family too, but it's just me and Shishi. So we're going to talk about some of our favorite things of 2024, some stuff we liked, just general pop culture. But overall, Shauna, how was 2024 for you?
It had its moments, and obviously, like the last month or so has felt like a whole year in and of itself in
Correct.
terms of like, and it's hard to look at 2024 and not think of November, but I'm just going to try and ignore that one specific, ignoring
No.
that, like, I think there was so much good. Like, I am very fortunate that I was able to travel around the country for my
Yes.
hobby and passion, dodgeball, and, like ended up like I won a medal this year, like,
Work.
which was my second straight year where I'm very fortunate to have, come in first place in, one of the Team USA, the USA Dodgeball Premier Tour tournaments. And like, that is not an easy feat, and not everybody can, is so fortunate. And so I'm very lucky that I've had, the ability to keep playing with some, amazing people, and specifically some amazing women athletes.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's one of the things that I take away is like, I'm so lucky that I get to share the court with so many amazing athletes, and there's
Yeah.
so many talented, wonderful women in sports, both in my sport and in general,
Yeah.
that I love, the opportunity to kind of celebrate that. And that it does get to take me all over. I got to go on a tour of California where I started at San Francisco, visited my friend Chelsea and her spouse, and like got to celebrate their wedding. And like, because I did a podcast with Chelsea, and
Hmm.
like she like, and so it was really cool getting to meet her, and like nerd out and like around San Francisco, and then take a train down to LA. And the train, like getting to see all of California, like that California coast and mountain is
Sure.
just gorgeous. And like being
Sure.
on a train all day, it's delightful.
I'm
Like, and I'm
sorry. I
I'm very
know that
fortunate.
trains are like whatever. I've technically only ridden them in Europe and then like,
Mm.
like public transit. I've never ridden like American railways. Like
This was the first time for me.
I want to do it. I think it seems
It
so
was
like
actually
romantic.
it really was, and especially, like, I don't travel by myself often. Again, like, I've been with my
I
partner since
love
we were,
traveling alone.
16 turning 17, so, like, having this, like, real experience of being on, like, because I was, like, with my partners and then I wasn't, and so we ended up going down, and they went back home because we, like, were hanging out in San Francisco for San Francisco Pride together, and then we're going and so then it was just me as I'm taking this train, and like having that kind of adventure, like solo adventure was a really
Yes.
cool part. Got to see some of my wonderful friends in LA. So grateful for my friend Karen for putting me up for a couple of days at her house.
Yes.
Her and my friends in WeHo Dodgeball. Like, it's just
Yeah.
delightful. And then,
Excuse me, sorry.
and like getting, my year strike went to Vegas and I'm going again, which I'm so excited
For Sin
for because
City.
2025, yeah, Sin City is the best tournament. And if you are queer, if you're listening to this or
It's so
watching this
fun.
and you're queer and love sports, you should go to do it because it's
Yeah.
just a blast.
It is, except I don't really care for Vegas. I wish it traveled. I wish it went other places. I mean, obviously it's the
Mm,
Sin City Classic, but I just don't like Vegas. It's like, granted,
interesting.
I've never really gone and explored. It's too overstimulating for me. Like, it's too many people, it's too many sounds, everyone's smoking cigarettes. I don't like it's and I guess I'm talking about the strip. Like, I've never seen more of Vegas
Mm.
other than that. But like, it's also hot all the time, and I don't want that either. Like, Vegas just isn't for me, and I'm fully comfortable with that. Like, there's
Well,
no
I
appeal for
think
me.
that I get that. And like I so see why it is not everybody's cup of tea. Like, I think it's a
Right.
very fun, like, as a night person,
Yeah,
like, I've
you
always been a
are
night
not
owl.
so secretly like a party girl. Like, you
I
love the
know.
nightlife. You like to
I
boogie.
do. And like, and I've been like, and I've been feeling like I'm really feeling my age lately because like I've been missing that kind of go
I
outness.
know you keep
Like,
trying to get us to go out, and
I
then
know
it
it's
and then it doesn't happen because
it,
I
but
I
it's going to
wish you would
happen.
have
We're gonna
known
make
me
fetch
10 years
happen.
ago.
Like,
Like, bitch, I would have been
I
down.
know.
I
That's
fucked
what I'm
around
saying. Like, I gotta
and
like,
completely lost
we're gonna
all
just like,
interest in partying.
I mean, I will
I just
just
wanna get
not
violently
forget
high with
about.
you instead. Can't we do that? That's way more fun.
I mean, we do that, and it
Correct.
is delightful.
Correct.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it is again, it's why I haven't been going out because I'm like, you're right, because I do want to stay home and play video games or board
Right,
games and hang
right.
out. Like, it has been
Although
really because I do love those things too. Like,
when we do go out, we still smoke weed, so
yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
But
And at the end of the day, like, I'm a I don't love getting so drunk. Like, it's fun
ugh,
sometimes, but by and large,
yeah,
like, I'm just really like, if it happens, it happens, but it is
hmm
not really my goal. Like, I'm very fortunate that I've always had a very healthy relationship with alcohol. Like,
sure,
and even with being around, even when I was in my more indulgent 20s and, beer
hmm
pong, like, it was beer pong every weekend, like,
yeah,
Wake Up, Do It Again, that song,
hmm
like, yeah, that was
hmm
very much like my
I Love
20s, like,
College came out when I was in college.
oh,
It
see, it was, like, right
was
after for me.
unreal, bitch.
Oh, yeah. It is a Facebook status that will still pop up as this
Yes.
fucking
Fuck a
something
Facebook
Roth
status.
lyric.
There
Asher
were
Roth,
Asher
that's
Roth.
it.
There were whole like Facebook albums. Like,
Oh,
status is
so many
temporary.
embarrassing
Bitch, the
Facebook
picture
albums.
albums named I Love
Oh my
College.
god, like, the pictures where, like, we're, like,
Cigarette and beer in one hand, like this actually probably, and pong ball in the other, like, a little
oh,
bit of
I have, like,
blow on my nose or something, like just a
right? Like,
complete degenerate.
oh, yeah, doing beer bongs. Oh my gosh, those were the days, and
Oh
that was
my god.
like, we knew just enough to not put everything on, but didn't know enough to know that we shouldn't put as much as we did on Facebook. Like, it
Yeah.
was that era. Like, back when
Correct. Correct.
back in my day, you had to have a college
College
email address
email.
to sign up on Facebook.
Now you
Like,
have to be. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Never
no,
mind. Never mind. Now you have to be a fucking idiot. That's the prerequisite. Is you have to be an
yeah,
old
or
fucking idiot to
50.
get on Facebook. Yeah. Yeah. Um.
Jeez.
Yeah. That is not something that I miss. I
I do miss
think
beer
my.
pong. I love beer
I
pong.
do
I
miss
don't
beer pong.
care.
I'll
It's
still
so
play
fun.
drinking
I will
games. I
st
just like playing
yeah, I will
games. Bitch, we just
yeah,
like games.
you're right, we just like games and, like,
You're out of line, but I'm not even
the
out of line this time.
No, you're not even this is right in line, but you're like,
Yeah.
drinking is a vehicle for having fun with games, and I was like,
Correct.
yeah,
Correct.
same
Um,
page.
Yeah, it's I admit I had a tricky relationship with alcohol. Like it
Fair.
just it I went to a party school. It became my whole personality. I've always been the Sag Rising. Like everyone
Mm.
sees me. I remember one time in college, like my senior year, I started having like, fucking mental health breaks, not full, like, scary breaks, but like I remember calling my sister. I've called several people at like 2 o'clock in the morning, not blacked out, just losing my shit because like everything is hard and alcohol makes it harder. But um I remember I was at a bar and I was just I was sad. I didn't want to be out. I was just like, I just want to go home. And someone literally said to me, "Why? You're supposed to be fun. Why aren't you having fun?" And I'm like, "Oh,
Oh,
it that was one of the first times that I was like, oh, that hurts when people perceive you for something and don't see the value. Like when people have put you on a pedestal of
that weight of expectation. Oh my
yes,
gosh.
yes, yes. And that was, obviously there's been plenty of times in life where that happened. But anyways, that was fucking
I appreciate
2010. We're talking about
I was gonna
2024.
say, I appreciate that our year in review episode has really been, like, so about the last 15 years. And you know what? I love that for us.